Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Brace for Impact as we close in closer and closer to the start of Season 4. Benny gets tireder and tireder, eventually passing out and never
Just
coming
older and
back.
older, man. Just older and older, man.
Yeah.
So no, I have a migraine, so it's not been pleasant today. But
Psh,
you know.
Who
But how are you, Parks?
who got time for a migraine?
Yes, apparently I do.
I live off 4 hours of sleep. Cheers to that.
Let me put it this way: I have a migraine, and I had an hour 20-minute long phone conversation with Comcast support today. So
We
just
love dealing with
eh,
big companies.
yeah,
Yay!
yeah. Hashtag Comcast.
Hashtag
It's like,
Comcast. Please
anyway, let's get
fix
into it,
your
shall we? We
stuff.
have a lot to cover,
Yes,
right?
there are
So,
many things. I mean, in broad strokes, there aren't many things, but in the minutia, that is every single of
right.
these things. I mean, the list,
Now,
our list isn't long, but there's a lot to talk about
no,
in that list.
but a little, I guess headway here, message to the viewers is we're going to do something a little out of the ordinary. We're going to do the news first this time,
Yeah,
right? So let's start with that. And a reason is because there's so many competitions and there's been so many roster changes that these competitions or have affected the competitions that have taken place just in the last 2 weeks that it made sense we're going to do the news first. So let's
yeah,
get into it, shall we? Let's do the news.
yeah.
And we'll
First one
start
up.
with Astralis' new lineup. They actually announced their new lineup, Parks.
Hooray!
The all Danish side.
Yeah. I this is the problem with being in a EU team. I have no idea anything about these players. So it's Aurora Lynn, uh, Josephine. I'm guessing that's how I say it. Mary,
Yep.
Anja, Molly, Molly Tai, Molly Tai, Molly,
Yep.
and
Yep. Molly.
then their coach Zibrun. So
Right.
that's an interesting lineup, I guess. I again know nothing about them. It's interesting that they've
So
gone for a full Danish lineup as well. Like they've committed in on the
yeah.
whole. We're a Danish organization. We're going to commit to fully Danish team.
Right. So some of these players have been playing for a little bit of while. Molly Ty's been around. Anja has definitely been around. I want to say she's played CS back even when I started commentating. I remember she was on the team.
Yeah,
Marie's the one that I'm not 100% familiar with here. Josephine, I believe, was I'm going to say prior to the impact scene being existent. I believe she was back on Copenhagen Flames. I might be wrong about that, but she definitely competed. And then obviously Aurora's like the veteran player here. She's
yeah,
the anchor that they made the team around. So interesting lineup. I think it's a decent lineup. I don't think it's better than the lineup they dropped to pick up, but it's a direction that Astralis as an org want to go in. Um, and I think that it's potentially one that can do some damage. They don't have an invite spot, remember, to
yeah.
season
They
4.
still have to qualify.
Correct, because they dropped so many members.
Yeah,
So I think, although to be fair, I don't think the invites gone out? No, they
the
have
invites have
for the whole,
gone out. The invites
yeah,
have gone
for the
out. Yeah.
whole
Hey, what
retain
do you need to
system
get to?
now.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So interesting. We're gonna have to see if they make it, but which
yeah.
we'll talk about later on.
Well,
But
yeah, because
that's the
first
new
qualifier and
lineup.
everything. That's a new lineup for Astralis. And that's really all the news that we caught towards the EU side of things. Unfortunately, I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of, I mean,
There's one other piece
we've
of news
got
on the
plenty
EU
of,
side, but
yeah, there's plenty of stuff that's been happening over towards that area, which is pretty cool to see. It's just we don't catch it all because we don't really see it ever across the line. Lots of looking for teams and all that going up though. I saw a lot of that coming through from Female CS's Twitter, which is awesome. Shout out to Milk for running that and constantly showing us that yes, plenty of players are willing to be in there. But we will get to that in a little bit. So kind of changing gears over here, going towards the NA side. A name that has been around for a little bit. Jance has joined
yes,
what is now Luke Goblins.
she's
Before,
back.
yeah, it was before being the they used to be Team Factor Ruby. That org has since that relationship is gone now. So now they are going by the name Luke Goblins. So a shout out to Reef Pippi Sippy Mama Alien Jade, who was another experienced player, and Jance, who kind of joins them in their crusade to get to Impact Season 4. Um, it looks like an interesting roster.
Yeah,
You're adding a lot of experience in both Jade and Jance, which should hopefully pay off. When you think about kind of where NA looks as a scene, I mean, it's relatively young in terms of the amount of players suddenly really pushing. And I know we're a year and a half in now, but adding that extra experience, that old guard coming in, always really nice to see. So yeah, I mean,
Speaking of old guard, that's a
yeah,
terrible segue.
very
And
bad.
she is genuinely going to kill me for the segue, so and rightfully so. But you also have Reef on that lineup, which is like the
Shout out to
brain.
Reef.
Like shout out to Reef. I love Reef. I do. I only say that because I love her to death. But like somebody who's really hungry and has like really an area within her, like within everything that she does, where she thinks macro
Yeah,
at a macro level about the game, and she's willing to do like the thought experiments that I think more teams need to do on like how to handle situations, how to build strats that you run, executes that you run. Like I think that's important. I think they have that in Reef. As somebody
yeah,
that's willing to really go through in her mind a lot of scenarios that CS presents itself that maybe other players don't. It's not within their normal scope when they play the game. You know.
yeah. And I mean that's a big thing. And I mean we have a lot. I'll say we have a lot of bias because we spent Dallas with her, which was truly a treat. Um, but I'm excited to see where this lineup goes forward. And I mean they're not the only NA team making moves. We've been alluded to it for a while. We kind of knew coming in from the last episode just because of the Cash Cup coming forward. EG have officially made their changes. So out we know who's kind of left by now. Coming in officially now is Yuli, is
Yes.
Vanessa, and of course in the coaching
Welcome
spot
back.
is
Welcome
Munster.
back. Welcome back. There's a famous clip of Sandman when he comes back to ECW and the fans go nuts. By the way, very
Yeah,
Philly thing here, but and they all chant that at him as he's given like whacking everybody with a Singapore cane. Um, but yeah, that's how I felt like when I saw Yulia. I was like, welcome back. It's great to have her back.
yeah,
Really an excellent player, one that I absolutely really thought needed more time in CLG Reddit when before she decided I know it's me, I'm stepping away from the game.
yeah,
Um, glad that she's back, and also the pickup of Vanessa, I think is really. I think she fits into this team very well, and I think Vanessa is a player that doesn't get a lot of maybe shine, right?
yeah,
Maybe attention might be the right word. Like it's one of these things where like you look at the lineups that she used to be in. We talked about Lisa IGLing. I've talked privately about Snavet the coach and what he's been able to do. And just genuinely, they've had I think what empathy they had empathy on that team, right?
yep,
Just the pure ability that empathy has. But it's like Vanessa's the kind of player that comes in and it's like it's the number 5, you know, player on the team that just is always one that never gets the spotlight, but you never have to worry about her performances.
yeah,
It's just you're always going to get the best of Vanessa, like the best of her abilities that can deliver. And that's what I think EG needed. So the fact that they picked her up, I think that's like it's such a solid addition
yeah,
to this lineup. And then obviously Munster, who is a phenomenal guy. I love Joe to death.
yeah,
Super nice, really engaging, and has a great mind for the brain. Hey, he's coming into the impact scene. I'm really excited for him. I really want to see what he can do with this team because I think, um, knowing previously, obviously, what he's done in like ECL and EPL,
yeah.
that this is, potentially a huge, mind that can help structure this team going forward. And I think they have a lot of pieces in place now to be a very competitive team.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the caliber of a coach that Munster is. I mean, you look at Party Astronauts and where they are now. How not only his part in that team, but the fact that team lasted for so long and has been around for so long, and those players are still like consistently.
Yeah,
It's less of a team. That team is mostly broken up now, but you still have Ponalone and Ben Leet playing together. So like
right.
he's not one of those coaches that's kind of just there for a season. He's a long-term asset that they've now got in their back pocket. And I mean that wealth of experience that he brings with him is just huge. I think EG will have a lot to look forward to with that, which is really good. I made the joke because the other two got frag videos when their announcements came through. He only got like a little graphic, and I just made the joke. I was like, hey, where's his frag movie? And they like we can't show
Right.
that. He's too good.
I think the thing I like too about the Party Astronauts thing that you mentioned too is like this is a coach that has been willing to, because he stayed with Party Astronauts so long,
Yeah,
and obviously we know how far Party Astronauts went up the chain. Like, it's a coach who knows how to evolve with a team,
yeah,
and now he's got a project where that's kind of the expectation is how is this team going to evolve, right? This used to be just a five stack that was really good at pugging that just played together in Please and Help to signing with EG and not meeting expectations
yeah,
and not having a structure. I mean, there was all the stuff that flew around, roster changes, everything. Now it's like you've been given AG have just basically taken their wrist, taken their forearm to the table, wiped everything off of it, and said, "Here, here's the team we put together." And
yeah,
it's a good one, but it needs to evolve and grow again, right? So it's like now you have a tried and tested coach who knows how to do that, who knows how to grow and evolve a team. So I think it's a good change. I'm really excited for Munster. Actually, I'm really excited to see him in action too, because I don't follow the tier one scene or tier two scene as much
yeah.
or anything like that. So, but I do know if Munster commentated him back in my Premier days when I was kind of missed. But like it's great to see him again, and I can't wait to see his work firsthand. So
I might be wrong here, but I think the only remaining player from the team that got signed. I'm, you know what? I'm gonna be wrong if I say that. I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say Piggy Kiki's the only team. I think at this point
yeah,
from season one, Piggy Kiki is the only original member of Please Send Help that
yep,
has gone here. I don't think because the original lineup was not signed to EG initially. Um,
right.
so that's
The
not
original lineup I
100%
think
true.
was Lover Girl, Empathy, Piggy Kiki, Jessica's,
I'm desperately trying to go back to season.
and and
Yeah, it was
um,
Lover Girl, Jessica's, Piggy Kiki, Milk, Empathy.
Milk. That's
because
right.
because Senna didn't join them.
Milk is still in the side, so
Yeah.
so
So
there's two.
Senna
There's
so
two.
well so Milk is an original
Oh,
EG player.
Senna. Yeah.
Piggy Kiki's an original Please Send Help player is where I'm kind
Right.
of
Oh
going
yeah.
with that. Because Senna did not join them when they went to
Right.
EG. She was left out. And I mean
Putting that aside, though,
Mads as well, but yeah.
that's true. That's correct. Let's move on to the next piece of news, though.
Yes.
Shall we? That
Yes.
is a big piece of news. Somebody who's let. We've had our second coach leave the impact scene for bigger ventures. I don't want to say
Yeah.
greener pastures. That would have been the wrong
No, no.
word. But bigger ventures. Flashy is out as FlyQuest coach. Why? Because he's joined Navi, and not Navi javelins. He's joined like
Proper Navi.
the simple Navi lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as an analyst. Huge congratulations, Flashy. Look, I need to come clean. Okay, Parks. To show about honesty, I rant all the time,
Yeah.
right, about how I think people are doing things wrong. I need to admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong about Flash, right? I criticized him very heavily in season two and going into season three about the map pool that he was constantly, that FlyQuest were constantly pushing, the tactics that FlyQuest were constantly pushing. After the Dallas performance and seeing what this team did and getting the team back to advance, I said, no, actually, they played the long-term game. Flashy was very good at that, and Flashy is a decent coach. When you hear him speak, he has a really great mind for the tactics of Counter Strike. Um, and I think I need to admit that I was definitely wrong because I was so skeptical, even tweeting at Dallas, like when they had that series versus not Saints, but
Shimmer.
Shimmer. Thank you. And I said, this map pick is terrible because they've picked one of the Shimmer's best maps. They let Shimmer pick their other best map, and then they picked a pug map for the third map, and then FlyQuest came out and just dominated. They beat Nine Pandas on that map. Granted, Nine Pandas were without their coach, but the lineup of Nine Pandas was there. Like,
Yeah.
you solid wins overall, and then now they're back in advance. And I'm like, you know what? I was wrong. I criticized him a little too hard, but he's done a great job with FlyQuest. It has to be said, really, just to make the turnaround that they did make after the roster changes from
Yeah.
season and just won all the way through.
Yeah.
And he's deserved this opportunity, and so he's earned this opportunity. So, congratulations to him. And I hope Navi smash every tournament, man. I want to see Flashy lifting tier one trophies, baby.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see
That'd be
now.
huge. Speaking of huge news as well, I mean, it just keeps coming. The all all the little cracks and everything kind of shook together and formed a solid core of what we got. Um, big team coming back in the form of Team Karma. One of the only teams, I'm going to point this out, one of the only teams in North American Impact that actually has a Liquipedia page, even though it's from
Yes.
2016.
Don't matter.
Crazy, crazy, crazy.
Don't matter.
So the players coming, so it's a core of players coming back from Valorant, being joined by some CS youngsters. So Rain, Emelite, Bungie, and Coach XP3 all come back. I mean, they've been around for a long time. I want to say
Yeah.
like various
Yeah.
stints in Dignitas and CLG,
I
right?
don't
If
think
I'm
Bungie
wrong.
had stints in Dignita, but she was in the CS scene like
Yeah,
2018, 2019. Like she's,
she's
and then
yeah.
went to Val and came back. So yeah.
And then of course they're joined by youngsters Olia and Ellie. And I mean, we
Now,
big Olia fan right over here.
yes.
From Saints, of course.
There's so much to say about the scene. First off,
We'll
love
get to them.
the fact
We'll get to them.
Emily XP3 Rain. Like I love the fact that they're back because phenomenal players. These are players that have won 2 Intel Challenge Katowice or Intel Katowice challenges. Um, really successful on the world stage. I mean, if CLG Red at the end of 2020 were the #1 women's team in the world for or not. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say in the world because obviously they were still Giuliano's old lineup of at that
Yeah,
time. I think the Team Originum, but CLG #2 team in the world. Dignitas easy #3, like easy #3. That was with Rain, Emily, Sholiana, who I think is still over in Valorant now. The first Brazilian export, by the way, that we had in CS was over there. So really storied players. I love
yeah,
that they brought the Team Karma name back. By the way, it's fantastic. Ellie is a player I wanted to point to. I wanted to point out real quick because she also is coming over from Valorant. By the way,
right.
she used to be Xset with under I believe that was Starry Bun and Art Star. No, not Art Star. Um, yeah, I think Art Star was in that lineup over in Valorant,
Right.
and um, now she's come over to try CS, which I think is fantastic. And then obviously Olya, and I'm so happy. The person that I'm happy the most for is Olya, because look, this is a player. We talked about Vanessa, right, and how
Yeah,
she's like this consistent rifler. I feel like Olya is much the same. Like she can
yeah,
deliver great performances when teams need it, right? And that was my question is I'm looking at all these roster changes, all these LFTs, and I'm like, where's Olya gonna go, right?
yeah.
Because she was playing a few cash cups with a lineup, and I'm like, oh, this is not gonna work for her.
No.
I'm glad that she's competing in this lineup, but she's a player that deserves to be in season 4,
I mean,
right?
yeah, and I mean, I saw her. She played a game with Cherry Bombs in the LCA Final
Right.
Offensive, and I the I hate to say this to just it's not a slight against Cherry Bombs, but the level comparison to where Oya was versus the rest of the team, it was
Exactly.
stark difference, right? You're looking
Exactly.
at somebody who is not to say in their prime, but a player that looks much more ahead in terms of where they are development wise versus a Cherry Bombs lineup that was still looking to get its feet up under itself,
Yeah.
right?
It,
And
it's
players that
it's
are
the
trying to
difference.
cohese together.
Yeah, it's the difference of watching a player that could make season 4 land finals, maybe not like an Olya, like on the right lineup, versus a team that might not even be in season 4. Like that
Yeah,
was kind of the skill difference, right? And I
yeah,
love cherry bombs. That's not a dig at cherry bombs. I do. But it's one of the things that's like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm like looking at Olya, like you've got to find a team because you're way too good not to be in season 4.
yeah,
And then it's like, oh, you get to play with some of the most decorated veterans in the women's scene. Like I'm
yeah.
like, thank you for this blessing. Like I am
And yeah.
so happy for you.
And we'll get to talk to about it a little bit later here because we do have those qualifiers coming up. We got to mosey a little bit on here though. That is all the
Yep.
news, thankfully.
Yep.
So we got to keep going here.
Yep.
Let's move on to Masters Feminina 7. We had that huge
Are we gonna do the
primer.
cash cups? We're just
Do you
gonna
want to do the cash? I was thinking Feminina, cash cups, and then we'll end with the qualifier
let's
results,
do
I
the
think.
cash cups first because
Do the cash cups?
we'll roll right over it. Um, and we'll start in Asia. We
Yep.
had an Asian cash cup.
Not only did we have an Asian Cash Cup, we had 4 teams participate.
Yeah,
Um, Notably,
it's the
so
most teams, by the way, since December 17th.
oh god,
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's nearly a year.
Nearly a year.
So I think part of that is it's moved over to Face It, and that's it's free. These tournaments are free now. As
Yeah.
long as as long as you go through all the hoops of being in the GG for All Discord,
Yep.
these tournaments are free, which is really good. On the other side of that, I'm going to shout out there are two Filipino teams. Third team was Thai, and then the final team was Chinese. Notably, HSG Gaming were not in this tournament. Of course, they were kind of
Right.
just they left it to its own devices. And the Thai team ended up winning, consisted of Rico, Ratch, Exquisite, Rainy, 1001, and then coached by Hoist. They won 2-0.
Pretty dominant
Yeah,
fashion,
it was
by the way.
16-0 and a 16-3. So I think overall
But
it's just cool to see that.
yeah, this is the one I was going to make real quick. Is that, and this is really the only cash cup I want to make a point on,
Yeah,
and that is that the move over to Face It's actually done something good, and that is it's eliminated this hard requirement of ESCA Premium, right, or
yeah,
whatever you call like the monthly pass, whatever, because now the tournaments are just free to play, which means players that don't want to pay the fee, they don't need to pay the fee. They can come in and just play for the sake of playing if they wanted to, right? And I think that's neat. I think that's why we got these Thai teams. There are Counter Strike teams in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in the Philippines,
yeah,
in Vietnam, in Thailand, right? And there are some good players. Like I always go back to Momo because Momo-chan is a player who she wasn't a phenomenal CS:GO player, right? But the scene isn't built up in Malaysia, right?
right.
But she loved esports, and she played in a team, and eventually just decided I'm gonna retire, and because esports events in Malaysia and Indonesia were like, hey, you know a little bit about the game. Do you want to come on the broadcast, right? And then so
Yeah,
she became stage host and kind of like a James Banks role in Southeast Asian tournaments and doing mobile PUBG, mobile Clash of Clans, Counter Strike, League of Legends, which is really
yeah,
popular down there. Like, and I'm like, this is great. Like, we need more of this, right? So, there's definitely players in there. There's definitely infrastructure down there, and the fact that you've taken this hard requirement of needing this monthly pass, away from countries that generally are not, um, for lack of a better word, do not have a strong currency
yeah,
as the countries that dominate this region, such as China and um, you know others, Australia, but they get to play, which I think is
yeah.
great. I think it's phenomenal. Anyway, we do need a mosey on. That's all I wanted to say.
No, and I mean
So
it's a good progress stick to see of like, yeah, we had a bunch of weeks off in between, but now we're starting to see some interest coming through. That's great. We'll keep running with that. In towards Oceania now, just two teams coming in. Stacks of Cash versus Yarp. Again,
yep.
it's just the same group of players trying to get teams together to play. It ended up going 3 maps, and oh my goodness, I'm just looking at the thing right now.
Oh
They
my
played
God.
Inferno Vertigo
Yep.
Overpass, 16-2 on Inferno for Yarp. They would not win another map though. It was 16-9 on Vertigo for Stacks of Cash, and Overpass would be legendary, 22-19 for Stacks of Cash. I mean, Stacks of Cash was Artemis, Soko, Coney, HDiz, and Hope. That's
Connie.
Connie.
Yes.
Sorry. There's I mean I believe that's also the core of the Australian team going to ISF. If I'm wrong.
I mean, H just filled in for, I believe it's Seta, but yeah, I believe it's going to be like Soko, Connie is Hope, which is Chicken Loaf. She's now back to Hope.
Yeah,
Um, is on the sign up, and Bibion,
Artemis.
obviously, Artemis. Yep.
Yeah. So.
So, just yeah, but OT Pass is back. I mean, but a great series, really a phenomenal series between those two sides. So,
Right.
that sets us up for South Africa.
Yep.
Three teams in this one. You want to talk about overtimes, my friends? This one out of white. So it was Evasive, White
Oh, I
Rabbit,
remember
Amaryllis,
watching this one.
and ATK.
Oh God, I remember watching this one.
ATK and White Rabbit made the final.
Yep.
Inferno Mirage, it was a 2-0, but Inferno went 28-24. That is what, four overtimes, I want to say.
Yes, that
So
is 4 overtimes.
yeah, so
Um.
that's a lot. But
Yeah.
and then 16-7 on Mirage. So thankfully the second map wasn't any overtime or anything like that. But yeah, what a long series. What a great map though
Shout
we
out.
got between the two.
Shout out to ATK during that, and shout out to Newt as well for while he was casting, he left voice activity on, So some of the players on ATK at points were just singing along to whatever was
That's
in their
great.
minds. Yeah, it's turned into a bit of a thing. We'll get to that in a little bit. Well, actually, I'll tell the story now. During the qualification spot for it was between FA White and yeah, during that qualification game, Oli was singing Justin Bieber, like purposefully because she knew that I had voice activity on, so I would hear it. And she wanted to entertain chat. So like, there's little if you go back into my VOD, there's little breaks where it's during the intermission between maps and like everybody's kind of getting in, and Oli is just
Yep.
like casually sitting there singing. She told a few jokes even, and it's like I'm just like, well, I'm gonna be muted, but I'm gonna go into the game and they can hear in-game audio of Olia messing around. So that I thought that was really funny. I enjoy it a little bit too much with having having the
Yeah.
ability to listen to the players dead chat. That's really fun to me. South America, we do get to skip. They canceled this one. Not enough teams
Yeah.
came through.
And the big reason is because everybody's over at Masters
Masters
Feminina,
Feminina.
which we'll
There's
talk about in a minute.
we'll talk about in a minute for sure. The next big one coming through again, North America strong with cash cups coming. Like with you have to remember this is before the qualifiers, so a lot of these teams were coming in, getting set, getting ready for the qualifiers, kind of getting a litmus test of where they are in
Yep.
terms of the season. We had 10 teams sign up yet again. The notable top four were FlyQuest Red, Fluffy Amers White, Shimmer, and Beep Beep. It ended up going to Shimmer versus FlyQuest Red in the finals. And I mean, that was a great. I mean, I'm just going to look quickly at this. So, yeah. Again, FlyQuest Red against FA White. FA White got 13 rounds total in a 2-0. So, and it was the same kind of thing over with Shimmer and Beep Beep. Again, different levels of caliber, I think, coming through on that. We get to the grand finals, and those two maps were electric. 16-13 on Mirage. FlyQuest win that one out. 16-14 on Ancient. By the way, that's not just 14 rounds like overall. That is 14 rounds in a row. They won their I think it was 11. It was 11-0, I want to say. No, maybe even 12. I'm going to look at it doesn't give you round count.
13-0, and then they ran back 14 rounds in a row and then lost.
I don't think it was 13. I think it was 11. I want to say it was 11.
You mentioned it to me, I think. I can't remember if you mentioned it to me in Discord or.
Yeah, I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it in the group, unfortunately, so it's probably gone to time.
Okay.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. we can't. It's just too far back on now.
Yeah, I mean I could look, but it's not like a.
It's fine. But it was a strong showing. Like it's one of these things where like the question was, with all the roster changes, is Shimmer going to stay competitive, right? Especially with the roster changes EG Gold made, especially with the way Fluffy Amers White have looked. Like, what is Shimmer going to look like now that they've lost, Oya and um, Empathy and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But the new look.
Sorry, LX, not Empathy. LX was.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, beg your pardon, LX. But the new look, Shimmer looks great. I mean,
Yeah.
Andre played well. Bouchard's in this lineup. I'm so happy for it because now I'm like, Bouchard. Look, you still got to play the game.
Yeah.
You still gotta, get there, get it over the line. But there's a chance that she could be playing in Impact season for once, finally. And I'm like, thank goodness that she is. In fact, I think they have the spot, don't they? So she should be in if that's if she's with
Yes,
the
Shimmer.
right?
So Shimmer already have a spot. Yeah, Shimmer.
Right.
This grand final was a impact level an impact level game.
Yes.
And I do want to just say this real quick. It was an 11-0 start. Shimmer won the last 4 rounds of the first half, then won the next 10 in a row, and couldn't put it away on the end there. They lost the last 5. That's huge to get that many rounds, and like that's just I don't know this like Shimmer versus FlyQuest Red. I'm so sad we only get to see it once during regular season, like because it's a 1-8 team group now, so each team plays each other once. I believe that's how it works. I could be wrong, but that's how round robins usually go. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm sad that we don't get that, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I'm so excited to see kind of what the rest of this has in store for us, and to see these like. I think Bonafide right now, these are the top 2 teams, and the way Shimmer have carried themselves
Yes.
from this Cash Cup, that just kind of solidifies it for me. I want to see where EG Gold gets to in terms of these two teams. That's your
Yeah.
kind of where you're looking
Yeah.
at your top three. That's where I'm like, okay,
And I
what are
want to
we gonna
see
get
how
through?
consistent Fluffy Aimers can be as well. Like
Yeah,
we've
Fluffy Amers
seen
is
them
another
play
roster.
amazing, and then we've seen them bomb out of tournaments. So it's
Yes,
like,
we've seen
where
both.
where do they stack up at the end
Yeah.
of the season, right? Like
What's
that's
the reading? What's the reading
yep,
on the
yep,
barometer? Final Cash Cup then Europe
yep.
coming through.
So many
Uh,
interesting results in this one, by the way.
yeah. 14 teams signed up, so they bounced back from the six from the week before, and I mean the winner of it, like a few interesting teams kind of coming through. Nine Pandas Fearless played, Incilio
Didn't
Female
make the final, by the way.
didn't make the final. Yeah, didn't make
No,
the
they
final.
lost 2-1
Shinigami,
to an interesting astronaut side, by the way. One thing just to point about the astronaut side
yeah,
is this is an old school side, my friend. Zonic,
yep.
Bullet Girl, Hellrose, Knockin. These are players who have been in the scene for years before Impact. And also another Valorant return, Nessa.
Yes.
Yeah, always a great player. I was so sad when she went to Valorant. I was like,
Yeah.
oh no. But hey, back to she did great in Valorant, by the way.
Yeah.
But back to CS and picked up a big win. This is a big win over
Yeah.
um, Nine Pandas Fearless. Has to be said. So, um, you know, solid stuff from them. The other one that I also wanted to point out is the fact that Let Her Cook beat Ninjas in Pajamas.
Yeah, no, I was gonna get to that. I mean, we saw those. So the other four teams are kind of the the teams that are kind of in this as the notable teams. NIP were in there. Letter Cook were in there. Yayo were in there, and of course G2 Oya. So I mean, you've got four in the top 8. You've got four teams that are under an organization. The others, of course, are still kind of looking for org whatever.
Right.
Um, and yeah, I
Let Her
mean,
Cook, by the way, for the people that don't know, that's the ex Astralis side, by the way.
yeah, and Letter Cook end up winning against an IP Impact, which I mean is crazy, 16-11. They then lost to G2 Oya in a 2-1 series, and that was a pretty close series, I'm going to say. The final was not close at all. It was G2 Oya going up against Astronauts at 16-3 and a 16-2. And so G2 Oya are looking very good, which is good to see. I mean, you can look at that and you can say the project of having Ramsden join them is really starting to pay off. As well, you got, I mean, Nine Pandas Fearless did get upset by a very close upset, by the way, 16-13, 22-18 for Astronauts rather, to beat Nine Pandas Fearless. So, I mean, the big takeaways from this are all the teams coming through the EU side are going to be dangerous. And I mean, we've got a lot of, not only is it just Valorant players coming back now, but you've got a lot of the rosters have really started to solidify themselves more so than they have in North America. I mean, North America is really starting to hit that motion of having a few select teams that are just, they are standard bearers of having a core, and you kind of build, you build the roster around those players. EU has already had that, and the org support has helped them with that, but now they're really starting to key in on, there's certain teams you have to be aware of, and there's certain tournaments that they participate in to keep up on that.
The other thing to note here is VP Angels did not look good, and they were just brushed out of the tournament first round.
Yeah.
And they're not a safe side. They're not invited back right now. So this is a team and an organization that has to figure something out if they want to be back in Impact League, because the recent results and performances show that even these pug teams like a Shin Megami, a Letter Cook, a Yayo,
They're ready. They're hungry.
they're punching way above where VP's punching right now.
Yeah.
So if that org's got to be very careful, because they could be missing out on season 4. That is the Cash Cups, though. Unless you have anything else.
No, that's the Cash Cups. I mean, I always like the Cash Cups before qualifiers kind of come around, because like I said, it's a litmus test. You get a good reading for the teams looking forward and just saying, okay, these are the teams to be aware of. These are players they got to keep an eye on. And I mean, it shows up very very quickly as you go into the actual qualifiers themselves. But we are going to take a step back from ESL Impact for a second because we talked about Masters
Yes.
Feminina VII before
Yes.
like 2 weeks ago with
Yes.
Nessie. Shout out to her. And I mean,
Big shout out to Nessie. The whole team down there that did such a
yeah, they did a great.
fantastic job. Like they do so much content. It's just so much fun. It makes the broadcast days long, sure, but like it was just so much fun
Yeah,
content. So they had the theme. The theme this time was movies, cinema, if you will. So they had a lot of questions like about players and what their favorite genres were, what their favorite
yeah,
movies were. A lot of neat interview segments. Uh, but the actual tournament itself, pretty good. Um, Not as closely contested, I would say, as previous editions, but decent nonetheless. MIBR over W7M in the opening round, 16-14. That was a nail biter. That was a great game.
yeah.
Um, and honestly, that was probably one of the better games for a while. Black Dragons beat Ravens 16-6. That was kind of expected. Black Dragons with the stand-in, Josie, remember, from
Yeah.
Big, who's back in Brazil now. Probably will be looking for a team full-time in Brazil as well now. She is free, as Big have stated, to look for offers, take up offers, I should say. So she's looking for a team standing in this one. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Uh, then it left the B4 MIBR on overpass. B4 just ran away with it. No, MIBR were nowhere close.
Yeah.
16-6. Furia beat Black Dragon 16-11. That was on Mirage. It was a decent game. Then it set up our upper bracket final on day one. B4 versus Furia. That was Anubis. On a best of one, by the way.
Yeah.
And nowhere close were Furia. I think it was like 14-0 at one point, and then they
Wow.
won a round. Like it was insane. Like it
12
was
12-3 was the first half. So there you go.
12-3 was the first half. There you go. Sorry. So, and then it was just they ran away with the second half
Yeah.
immediately. So, yeah. The nice thing too is HLTV gave coverage of the lower bracket semifinal all the way through the grand final, including the upper bracket final.
Right.
So last time we only got the grand final on HLTV. This time we at least got four of the matchups. Lower bracket, Black Dragons over W7M, 16-2 on Overpass, 16-8 on Inferno. And then MIBR, 16-3 on Ravens on Mirage. You just don't want to play MIBR on Mirage, man. It's just all the time. They're just so good on it.
Yeah.
Anubis Ravens started pretty punchy, actually. And that was a pretty back and forth affair, I have to say. Eventually, MIBR closed it out, though. 16-12 is a decent map that sets up the matchup, I guess everybody was expecting. MIBR versus Black Dragons, 16-7 for MIBR and Vertigo, 16-11 on Inferno. MIBR then played Furia. The bracket kind of played out how Nessie and I
Yeah, I
honestly
was just
thought it was
thinking
going to
that
play
like
out. I think it's
it looks
almost
pretty
exact.
much exactly where it is.
Yeah, and I think I picked Ravens to upset MIBR, and that was like a mistake. Like that was my mistake. And Nessie was like, "You crazy."
Yeah.
Um, but Furia beat MIBR 16-4 on Inferno, 16-12 on Anubis. The Anubis was good on that one.
Yeah.
And then that set up the grand final, which that's where the fireworks were, my friend. That was the matchup to watch.
Of
Okay.
course.
Um, Furia obviously had Anna X, their new signing,
Yeah.
and she looked really good, very very good. But this was Junger's tournament because she was unreal, and I mean unreal in this tournament. She was so incredibly good. I can't explain just how. I think femalecs.com, and I don't know if you want to pull it up while I'm talking. Um, the stats from that tournament that
Yeah.
that that Milk put out, but I think it's something like sh- if the closest was like a 1.2 or something like that. Here it is. I found it. Uh, Nani was the second highest rated player with a 1.02. Junger had a 1.25. Like that's the gap, right? So the gap from Nani in second to Ka in 10th is 0.17, right? But the
Yeah.
gap between Nani and Junger in first and second is 0.23. Like that's the level of separation that Junger played this tournament at. And it was she was absolutely phenomenal,
Yeah.
phenomenal. Overpass did go to Furia 16-13 after the game. Like I said, 16-7.
Yeah.
Went to B4. She didn't. Junger didn't have to do much on Ancient because it was Julie that popped off 28-13. By the way, with 115.8 KDR, like or ADR. Sorry,
Whew.
that just nuts, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously they dropped the Overpass, and then Junger on Vertigo as an AWPer, by the way, who didn't really play with the AWP. They didn't have the AWP a lot during this third map,
Yeah.
um, because Vertigo's not really a map that lends itself to AWP play. In all honesty, it's probably the map that least lends itself to AWP play in the map pool, I would say, right? So
Yeah.
uh, they did start to pick it up though, towards the end of the second half, right, to try and like turn the results because obviously the game
Right.
was so intense. So like Furia brought the AWP in, put it on Ka. Ka started to light up the scoreboard a little bit more because she was really struggling. I
Yeah.
think she was like 7 for 13 or something like that, and then she started to grab the AWP and just really hit kills. And then so that's when they put Junger on the AWP, and she started to like 29-17 with 107.8 ADR as well. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. And the final, by the way, before we're 15-14 up, the bomb was planted. Junger's on the CT side on Vertigo, and it
Yeah.
came down to a 1v1 versus her, between her and I think it was Anna X, who had been phenomenal that map as well. So it was just one of those things that was like the whole tournament at the end came down to a 1v1 that or that Junger won with like 15 HP and then defused the bomb. Like just a
Crazy.
nuts ending to a phenomenal tournament. So well done, Gamers Club, for running such a fantastic event. It has to be said, absolutely incredible event, despite the tech issues that I personally had with it. But
Yeah.
um,
I mean, that's
they,
the.
they overall ran a great event. They hired great cast, and just like seeing Geo and whatnot on the broadcast. Like these are really giants within the Brazilian scene that do a lot of work that not a lot of Western audiences see. And I think that's the sad part is that there's a whole cast of characters down there that do amazing work, and they're part of this gamer club eco system, and it was on full display throughout the weekend. It was fantastic to see. But no, well done. B4. It was also one thing to note, by the way. It was their very final event under the B4 banner, so they are all free agents now.
Oh
So if
my
anyone's
god.
interested in getting into the Impact scene,
Oh my god.
my brother, sign this team
There are
because this
so
team is
many.
so good.
There are
So
so many orgs down there. Like there's so many teams down there that are now orgless. I mean, Black Dragons was playing under the Black Dragons banner, but they were
yes,
they're still free agents.
yeah, now they're
Um,
free agents as well.
so that's crazy.
The
Like,
rumor, and it's not my rumor. It's not. It's just a rumor that is circulating in Brazil.
right.
But the rumor is that Loud is interested in signing them.
That would be
So
nice. That would be
in
very
B4.
nice.
So
Loud
yeah.
is a very good org in Valorant, so I would expect them to potentially do the same thing over on this side of
Yes.
the game. All right, we have talked very long about everything else. It's gonna be a very. We're gonna have to go relatively quick to get through the rest of this. Um, yeah, I know, I know. We are actually we'll start down in South America,
Yes.
just because we're
Yeah.
already there, and they had the fewest teams. I think the fewest teams.
Yes.
Hold on.
5 teams. They
Yeah,
had
five
five
teams.
teams.
They had 5 teams, so they did have the
So,
fewest, and it makes it relatively easy to
yep.
get through them.
Yes.
I'm gonna go and just look at the notable teams here.
So Davina was one of the team, obviously Org, right? That's Kata Di Banana on that team. Well, not Ravens, obviously that made they were the Pug team.
yeah,
The Kati,
yeah,
Lulitens that made Masters Feminina, right? They were the one unsigned team that made Masters Feminina.
yeah,
They were down there. Uh, Cafina was in there. Loris was in that side. Lulu was in that side. And then the interesting one to note, really, is more serious. More serious.
Macarius. Yeah, more
Huh?
serious. I don't know.
I
I don't know how
believe
to
that's
say
what they
that.
said. I forgive me if it's wrong, but it's a conglomerate of like former Black Dragons, Furia, W7F. So you've got Arginia, who I believe at one point was MIBR. Sinon, who's just obviously coming off from Black Dragons. Bobs, who's coming off from Black Dragons. Madi, who was on Furia, then went to W7M, is now a free agent.
Yeah.
And Bokor, who was on W7M, then went to Furia and is now a free agent.
Yeah.
Sammy's was the substitute as well that was listed. Another great player. So that was a big king to note. And then obviously there's Bittner. Big shout out to Bittner. He's a lovely, lovely dude who does a lot of work just in CS. Like he's a
Yeah.
mod for Pimp, I think, and like he does a lot of coverage for um, the women's scene. He
Yeah.
coaches teams every once in a while. So that was Armcom, Donnie, Let It Go, 11 was on that side as well. Goya was a substitute. So pretty much, teams that we've seen in League of Feminina or elsewhere. But anyway, um, to the bracket, it was oddly enough the Murcia side. Um, they beat Ravens.
Yeah.
So like you look at this lineup and you say, okay, Morpheus and Ravens are probably the two favorites. They met on the same side of the bracket,
Which is rough.
and and Morpheus won 2-1.
2-1. Yeah, it was a
Yep.
close game.
Yeah.
16-10, 16-11, 16-14. So Ravens won the second map to try to tie it and force it to a third, but they were not able to get it over the line. That is
Right.
I'm also just looking at the scoreline. 11-4 up, then a 12-3 second half. That's insane.
Yep.
In the lower section, that left Davina and Kafina then, and that one was a quick affair for Kafina, winning 16-14, 16-8 against Davina female. So I think where this leaves us then is probably Davina and Ravens winning the next one, if there's enough participation, of course. If there's enough participation, we're going off this and going, okay,
but
5 teams
what I
showed
would
up.
What I would say is, the Bittner's team. I just closed.
He
out
just
the tab
closed
by
it.
accident. Yeah.
Excuse me.
The team of Kitty's Gasa. I think if they play Davina, there's a chance they beat Davina.
Yeah.
They did it in League of Feminina First Edition.
Yeah.
They ran all the way to the lower bracket semifinal, and they lost to MIBR.
Okay.
But like, and then in the second League of Feminina, they got grouped. So it's like, which team appears? Because if it's the one we got in the first League of Feminina, Davina are not going to make it if they play them. But if it and then there's also like it's one of those things where if they play Ravens, then Ravens will probably beat them. So it's one of those ones. But nonetheless, I think it's more up in the air, believe it or not. That's South America though. Let's move on to.
Yes.
Do you want to do North?
Let's do North America. Let's do North America because this one might probably be the biggest block, just because I did a bunch of the casting of it, and then we'll kind of do the highlights of Europe because 39 teams is a lot of teams to go through.
34, yeah.
34, yeah. I mean, they had. I think they said it was something like 59 teams signed up, but majority of them were not what they were. Not the majority of them were not supposed to be. I mean, we had the same thing over in NA. I think there was ended up being like 13 teams signed up or something. One of them didn't. I think one of them didn't check in.
4 teams got kicked out of NA. 31 teams got kicked out of the EU bracket because they were male teams.
Yeah, but
31.
that's the reason why the ruling exists of having you have to be in the Discord, you have to have your camera on to be verified and everything. It's dumb. It's dumb.
I understand. Like some people were making it maybe they didn't know because it's just moved over to Face It. Okay, I mean, number one, the Impact Circuit has been around a year and a half. You should know. But if you're new and you make an honest mistake, sure, fine. I don't think 31 teams made an honest mistake.
I don't know.
So
it's one of those things of I don't know. I've seen it both ways where somebody signs up as a joke and makes it funny. It's not funny. Grow up.
It's not funny,
and then it's the other side. The other side of it is no. I generally did not know what this was. I saw it was an open tournament. I signed up for it.
Yeah,
Our bad.
And
it's like okay, it's whatever. We get it. I think they've had a few bad actors down in Australia doing the same kind of stuff where they just like continually trying to come in and there's some generally bad stuff going on down there with that, but I think that's kind of cleared itself out now that the bad actors are. I mean, there was
let me just put it this way because I'll leave it on. I'm sorry to cut you off. If 31 teams sign up for the second qualifier, then you'll know. You know what I mean? Like
then it's like guys, come on, grow up.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, we did have 9 teams coming in for the NA side. The notable ones were Luke Goblins, Totsugeki, Fluffy Emer's White Team Karma. I mean, there's plenty of other ones that we've talked about over and over again. You got Coven, Cherry Bombs, Beep Beep came in here as well. We had a Starfish as well, made an appearance, not the original lineup. And then we had Team GC, who have a very interesting story to be told in their own right. Very, very interesting. And yeah, I don't know. We'll talk on the bottom of the bracket first. FA White going up against Trey Bombs in the quarterfinals. FA White took that fairly easily. Coven going up against Team Karma, same kind of story. Karma looking very, very good to start off with, and that was like I like that. You look at that match and you go, okay, Karma is a team to look out for. You get to the semifinal, then it's FA White versus Team Karma. It goes the full 3 maps, and oh my goodness, what a series to cast! And up until the third map,
it's a shame the Anubis was a stinker.
I was gonna say up until the third map, we get to the third. Like we have long game on Inferno. We have a very long game on Ancient, and you get to Anubis, and it's 16-1, and just FA White just looked lost. It was crazy. They got 1 round on their T side on a map that is supposedly very T sided, and just never got anything after that. I mean, a huge reason of that is Olia in towards mid. Like we were saying it on the broadcast and everything like that, because I was doing it with Haley. Shout out to her. Mid is one of those really important pieces of Anubis that once you get good, like if you have a good player there that can control it and at least every single round get a kill, as Olia was doing, you're set. Like that linchpin, all of a sudden now you're forcing them to either one way or the other. And Anubis does have the canal to rotate in between. Like you don't have to force your way through mid, but it gets a lot harder to do when you've got a player holding E-box. It makes the rotations a lot harder. So yeah, Team Karma win. They're going to be qualified, and then that leaves us with the other side of the bracket. And I mean, I'm going to call them GC. I'm not calling them the full name because oh my god, I said it once.
You want me to?
I mean, you could. I said it once and was like, I'm never calling them that again. You notice he hasn't said it. I hate it.
It's such a great team.
It hurts my soul.
It's such a great team name.
Say it then.
Doc Cobblers. what an ass banger. What a banger.
Anyways,
okay.
they were the only GC and Starfish were the only 2 teams to play. Yeah, I know you gotta keep laughing because I can't say their name.
Cobble it up. That's all I gotta say.
Okay.
That might be our first edit ever.
I'm not editing it out. I'm not editing it out. I can't edit that out. Starfish versus GC. That was the only round of 16 match that we got. And it's notable because GC won, right?
Yeah.
And then immediately, the way that the tournament structure had worked was you were forced to play 1 match a day. You could reschedule to play more than 1 if you wanted to. So what it was originally going to be was round of 16 day 1, quarterfinals day 2, semifinals day 3. And what they said was, well, all the teams we're already here. We're going to play our quarterfinal matches today. We'll leave the semifinals tomorrow. And GC and Starfish said, well, we have our round of 16 match to play, so we're going to play it. And kind of depending on how long it goes, we might play the quarterfinal as well. And that way, all the teams will be caught up. So the semifinals, the qualifying matches will be on day 2. GC and Starfish play. GC wins, right? They win 2-0.
Yep.
They come back on, I believe they came back on Inferno as well. It was a big game for them. They won.
Yep.
Quarterfinal match getting ready to go. The reschedule, there's no reschedule. Like they've rescheduled to play same day. They're gonna play Loot Goblins.
Right.
First lobby goes through. It's bad. They have to remake it. And second lobby goes through, and half of GC don't show up. 3 players do not show up.
Okay.
It was found that one of the players on GC was acting in such a way and being so toxic that the rest of the team would not play with her anymore.
Yep.
And just walked away.
Right.
And that is, I mean, it's a first for me of seeing a team win and potentially continuing on and having a very good chance to continue on. And just, they walked away because they said, we are not playing with this player anymore. We're not dealing with this anymore. Yeah. We'd much rather play qualifier number 2 with a new lineup
with a different fifth.
and
Yeah,
just not deal with this anymore. So
and I don't blame him.
I don't blame
But
him.
all I gotta say, you know what the main thing I gotta say is NA,
Yeah,
NA. But no, look, fair play to the players that walked. I'm all about that, right? It's
yeah.
best to do it. It's look,
Stick to your morals.
you got to draw a line somewhere
Yeah,
at some point in time, right? And the players, and they had the backbone to do that. Say,
yeah,
I don't care if it ruins an opportunity for me. I am not going to go through with this. I have a standard that I upkeep, and that's more important. And fair play, absolutely fair play.
yeah,
I get angry and upset with the player that is toxic. We all know who they were.
yeah,
Go look up the Dust Dot article if you wish.
yeah. There's an
Which a lot
article
of
about
people,
it.
yeah, which a lot of people were slagging off, and I'm like, there's no reason
There's
to
no
slag
reason.
off.
Like,
That's what happened. Like you could put all the candy and sugar and lollipops and rainbows you want on it. It's not going to detract from the fact that somebody was
that,
such a huge fucking dick, and I'm going to use my swear there, that you know the rest of the team said, I'm not going to deal with this. So
yeah,
it's not on the team, it's on the one individual. Where I get upset is that that one individual has now potentially taken an opportunity away from Starfish, right? Because
yeah,
they played Starfish and they beat Starfish.
yeah,
I really, it shouldn't have. I wouldn't have been a walkover, and if I was an admin, I would have reached out to Star. I mean, the quick and easy decision. It's not the wrong decision the
no,
admins made. The quick and easy decision is, you know, loot goblins get the walkover, and that's it.
yeah.
I would have at least said in terms of fairness, if I can
Gone
reach
back to
out to Starfish
Starfish.
and they can play
Yeah,
the quarterfinal, then we'll just play the quarterfinal with them and we won't even think about it,
yeah,
right?
and I mean there was still another day that they could have potentially done that.
Correct, correct.
Issues
So
start to arise on the Faceit side, I think, which sucks. But
yeah, on
anyways,
the like actual
there's
admin
actual adminning
client.
side that
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
does
yeah.
create issues. But I mean, yeah, credit to the rest of the team for sticking to to their morals and sticking to their standards. And I
Yeah.
mean, there were plenty of different tweet threads that kind of came up afterwards. You mentioned the article there. The article is just all the facts that kind of came through. And I mean, it's very funny because there's a link or what is it, a Twitch clip from my stream because we received news of this from one of the players, and like that clip is now the most viewed clip on my channel because of course it is. And it's just us laying down what has happened and what the player has told us. There's nothing in terms of us going and saying anything, you know, against the player. There's nothing against. It's just literally we received this. They don't want to play with this toxic player. They're forfeiting, and we'll be back tomorrow with with both semifinals. Which did go through, by the way. So Loot Goblins, they got a bye in the round of 16. They got a bye in the quarterfinals as a result of this forfeit loss. They played off against Totsugeki, who had beaten Big Beep the day before. Totsugeki won that one 2-0. It was a 16-10 on their first map, and then a 16-14 on Overpass. So 16-10 on Inferno. So the whole thing of this is Totsugeki and Karma have qualified. Luke Goblins and Fluffy Amers White and all the other teams have now the second qualifier coming up on Wednesday to try and qualify. It was a good showing overall from all the NA teams. It sucks that little bit of news had to go through, like had to happen. Credit to the teams and where they played, and that they stuck to their morals. That's kind of the end of the day. We'll wait to see what happens on Wednesday because that's where we're at right now. I will probably see a new lineup from that GC team. I hope they have a different name. I beg that they have a different name. But we'll kind of see where that comes from. I keep laughing.
Yeah, and look, fair play to Gonzalo, by the way, because he's the article, and
Yeah. Shout out
he
to
got
him as well for
yeah,
like
he got
actually.
so much flack, and I'm like, look, I'd rather he write an article than not write anything at all.
Yeah.
Like people pen in the article. Like, look,
At least you're getting
we should
articles.
yeah we should be grateful that he is willing to cover the scene. Like
Yeah.
it's a double edged sword. You know what I mean? Like, come on. So
I want you to
it's
write, but only what I want. It doesn't work
yeah,
like that.
this
You
is
have to at
no,
some
that
point. You
doesn't
have to
work in
get some
journalism.
actual. Yeah, you have to write stuff, and it might not be what you want. It's gonna be
Yeah,
there. It's gonna be there.
yeah,
There's just
yeah. Maybe don't be a dick next time, and they won't have an article to read.
yeah.
But anyway, look, I mean, it's just the long and short of it. So big uh, congratulations to the two teams that did qualify, Karma and Totsugeki.
Yeah.
Um,
That leads us to
so
EU and
yeah,
the
what a
34
what a
teams.
long ass bracket this was, by the way.
I think
So
we're not even gonna. I'm not even gonna look at the face it one. I'm just gonna go off the Liquipedia
I'm on
one.
the
The
face of one
tops.
now.
Oh
So
yeah,
I just want to say like and this is fantastic, by the way.
yeah,
So many teams signed up, legitimate teams
yeah,
that they actually needed all 3 days for the qualifier.
yeah, yeah,
Like that's the big thing. And shout out to Charlotte real quick, right? I believe Nitro P,
yeah,
um, because she had a a whole mountain of work to do that morning
yeah.
between kicking the teams that didn't check in, kicking the male teams. I don't know if they redrew the bracket once or not, but
I have
like
no idea.
none of the Go TVs were working.
Yeah,
Half of the relays they set up for the Go TVs didn't
weren't
work, so they
working.
had to give out the raw Go TVs.
Yeah,
Like it just, and she was the only one there balancing, giving casters the Go TVs, helping with server crashes and issues, kicking male teams. Like it just, like
the admins for
I
this
just
have been
insane.
great, and I mean
Yeah,
we saw it. I won't say we had issues, but I mean we've seen how stretched they've been over the last few weeks with all these Go
yeah,
TVs. I mean the first week of ESCA League play, like if you were looking for a Go TV or any kind of help from Face It support, you weren't going to get it unless it was half an hour
yeah,
to an hour later. Like they've just
yeah.
been swamped because there's a lot of stuff on the Face It side that has yet to grow into what it needs to be. But they've done credit to them. They've done a very good job. Um,
Now,
I mean the notable teams coming. So the notable teams that I can see here, just quickly looking from the top 16, you got for the Win Esports, you got Astralis, you got Encilio, you've got Team Spirit, you've got
yep,
VP. Those are all the
yep.
orgs that I can see. There's a lot of unsigned teams.
Virtuosus is in there as well. They've been around a while. They played
Yeah,
a few cash cups, but it's not. I mean, those are the main ones I would say, right? It's
yeah,
crazy. It's party is
yeah,
another one. That's a decent team. Emerald, very well traveled player. Tinka, Bikiri, Spike, who used to be on Astralis, I want to say, is on that lineup as
yeah,
well. So that's one to look out for. Um, but yeah, you covered all the bases. I think the real interesting matchups were the quarterfinals.
yeah. Those
Yayo had
were
to play Astralis, and
yeah,
that was a monster best of three, by the way, because it meant that. Well, first off, let's get the result right. Yayo did win 2-1,
yeah,
16-14 on Vertigo, 11-16 on Nuke, and then 16-14 on Overpass.
yeah.
Yayo really, and Astralis were up, I think, on their T side, like something like 13-11, I think I want to say it was. And, or
Right.
no, I'm sorry, it was Yayo. They were up like 14-11. Astralis came back, and then Yayo closed it out. But, big win for Yayo. Patya's on that team as well, like
Yeah.
historic players on that team. But that was they played the quarterfinals and semifinals the last day, Parks, and that was such a long best of three that the semifinal best of three, the qualifier best of three, didn't start till like 9:45, almost 10
Jeez.
o'clock EU time. Like it was really, really, really long.
Jeez.
And then Shinigami played in Sileo. The big thing to note here is Shinigami 2-0'd in Sileo, right?
Yeah.
Jutella, Urbika, Ryanka is on that team. But um, Insilio is not a team that's made a ton of splash,
No.
and they had a really good run. Granted, it was a kind of a favorable draw, but they had a really deep run in this tournament, right? So,
That round of 16. Oh my god.
what?
Incilio female versus Virtuosus. A 16-13 win on Overpass for Incilio. They lost Anubis
Oh
22
yeah,
to
22
20,
20.
and then they
And then
won Nuke 22 to 20.
yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, that was a long
That's a
series.
long game.
Spirit, who also need to qualify, they 2-0 team Puma 16-13, 16-6. And then that left the last quarterfinal, which was Letter Cook versus Astronauts. I'm really too. I mean, Astronauts are playing such good Counter Strike.
Yeah.
Let them cook though. In the end, 13-16 nuke, 19-16 on Anubis, and then they did what happened to you, and then they had a stinker of a third map,
Yeah.
16-2 on Ancient. So that set up the semifinal matches. Yayo versus Shinigami. I mean, I think it just came down to exhaustion at the end of the
Yeah.
day for Yayo
You get to, I
because they
mean,
played.
both of these semifinal
Yeah,
matches. You get to that kind of
yeah,
end of the road, and you're like, we have played so many matches the last 3 days. We've played
yeah,
a match already today. Like
yeah.
you look at Counter Strike as a game, and I was like, and you get to these qualifiers, and you're like, this is endurance. This is not
Yeah, this
anymore
is
of like sparks. This is you just gotta get through it at this
this is
point.
what made me realize that like MR12, if they do fix the economy, wouldn't actually be a bad thing. They
Ah, they
gotta
gotta
fix
fix
the
the
economy.
economy to make it work.
So
Yes, but I don't know. I'd still,
I prefer MR15.
I do
I'm a
prefer
purist,
MF15.
and that's what I started with. But 1.6 was MR12,
You want
so
absolute
I'm like,
chaos? You want absolute chaos?
what?
MR18.
I mean, I've played matches that are MR30.
Yeah, you get to those like,
Eh.
just like you guarantee a little bit
But
longer of a game though. Oh.
the reason I say the exhaustion was because when they played the semifinal, by the way, it was 19:15 for Shinigami on Vertigo, so they played in overtime.
Yeah,
So like now you're talking about map 2 at like 11:15 at night. Like that is just brutal.
yeah,
That's just brutal. And you're talking about a team that's been waiting on you to play, who's been rested.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wouldn't be
And
surprised if
then
somebody
Letter
went for a nap or something during that little bit of a
Yeah,
resting period.
exactly. And then Letter Cook played Spirit 16-9, 16-14.
Ooh.
So Letter Cook go through,
Yep,
believe it or not. That's the Monoskine lineup, the Exostralis lineup, the one that some parts of will be at IESF this weekend.
we're getting
More
there.
on that in a minute. But
Yeah,
yeah,
with Shinigami.
Yayo and Shinigami outlast all of the orgs, and they make it there.
Yeah.
So big
So
congrats to them.
yeah. So I mean, big things coming up for them. Um, I guess where this leads to, where this ends up, then is you're looking at Astralis and Celio. I mean, you're looking at I'm gonna say the big three. You're looking at Spirit. You're looking at Astralis. You're looking at VP. Of those three, only
Yeah,
two
one of
can
them's
make
not
it,
making it.
and for sure, I mean, I think Spirit. I think Spirit have the best chance of any of them, just from the fact that they got to the semifinal.
Um,
I don't know. I mean, you look at
um,
the bracket that they went through as well. I
I
guess.
I think it's tough because I think the problem they were gonna have is if they play Yayo, I don't know if they beat Yayo.
Yeah, that's another thing,
That's
right?
the
Is
problem.
you've
So
got. I'd say. I mean, you look at Yayo, you look at Spirit, you look at Astralis, and I don't know if you can consider VP anymore because they lost to Team Puma, 16-6,
no,
16-13.
I think BP are gonna be on the
I
outside
think
looking in.
I think they're on the outside looking in. So, well, it'll be interesting to see come up next on Wednesday and Thursday and stuff. I mean, I won't get a chance to cast any of that. That kind of sucks. But
I might
um,
not the EU, but I'm just
yeah, NA is going to be kind of our bread and butter just because it's the weekday. So I'm going to be working when this comes through. But I mean, there were a few watch parties that I noticed, and I think some other casters have also kind of pitched in for it. So that's pretty cool to see. Shout out to all the casters that helped us
yeah,
out on the NA
Corvex,
side.
Mr. Scopolis, big shout out to those two.
Yeah,
Um,
anybody who's been casting the open qualifiers, like
yep.
just getting the games out there is really huge. And I mean, it does. I always I'm gonna be a little less humble than I usually am. I always get thanked for like casting these games and stuff, and it's like, well, yeah, it's kind of it's one of those things of like you want to make sure that the eyes get there and that the frag movie potential is there and all the other extra stuff. I mean, we got so many good clips
Just
coming in from the last
highlight
few
the
games.
players. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
and the highlight the
And
players.
the work they put in to
Yeah,
the scene and trying to
it's
make it.
if I'm gonna watch it anyways, I might as well have a bunch of other eyes with me. I guess is one of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
the things. Speaking of eyes, we've reached
Yep.
the end of the thing. Finally, took a little bit
Yep.
longer than necessary, I'd say.
Yep. Sorry.
We talk too
Lot to
much.
cover. It's
We
fine.
talk too much. Yeah.
We do talk
Um,
too much.
what are you watching, Benny? What's the thing you're watching now?
My friend, well, I know what you're going to be watching, so I won't go for the obvious.
Yeah.
But IESF is this weekend. So, despite all the just
Everything.
mess that IESF is, the World Finals are this weekend, and
Yeah.
you know,
Gonna be big.
it is going to be big. First off, B Dog announced today that him and Lucy are going to be there commentating, so big congratulations to B
Yep.
Dog. Big congratulations to Lucy. Love the pair of them. They're absolutely fantastic together. And if you ever want to know any bit more about B Dog, check out our most recent episode with him. We interviewed him,
We did
so
the
it
interview.
was a really good interview. Really, really good guest. and fantastic to see him working the event.
Oh yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of interesting teams here, and I am really going to be glued to it because I love this concept of this World Cup style tournament, right?
Yeah.
And even though a lot of CS players seems to like, not CS players, but the community doesn't seem to really be all in on it. I'm kind of all in on it, even though bad actors seem to have run something like this for the past,
Yeah,
10 years.
we're
But
keeping an eye on IESF as an
yeah, yeah,
organization, but the actual tournament
yeah,
itself is going to be pretty cool,
yeah.
I
And
think.
listen, I'm gonna just come out and say it. I would love for Team USA that has Vanessa and Kelsey and Yuli and Mads and Milky on. I want them to do so well. I do. I'm gonna have a big spot in my heart for Team Australia, though.
Okay,
And
so you and I are both on the same page on that then.
yeah,
Like we're both
yeah.
cheering. I think, I mean, you look at both those teams, it's like
And
that's the region I want to see a lot of success from. I want to
yes,
show, like, I want them to show up, and it's also kind of the North American, you
and
have to follow them
I
more
have a
forward.
challenge for you, Parks.
Okay.
I'll hold my end to it.
Right.
If Australia win the whole dang on thing, my son,
Oh, okay.
you got to do a
I'll
shoey,
do a
and
shoey.
I'll do a shoey too.
Yeah, we'll do shoeys. I'm down
Okay.
for that.
All right.
That's an easy,
That's
thing.
a Face for
That's
Impact
an
exclusive for those
Yeah.
that watch the pod. You made it this
If you
far.
made it all the way to the end of what
Yes,
we're watching,
exactly.
we will do a
Yes.
shoey. And
Okay.
I honestly, you could message us saying, "Hey, I know what you're doing," and we'll know. You could even tweet at us. Tweet
Yeah,
at us. Just
if you
say,
got made it this far, I want to see a tweet.
yeah, I
Okay,
want to see a tweet
at us
saying,
that you're
I
gonna hold us
guarantee
to
you,
it.
yeah, hold us to it. Just say at, at Parkscast as Benikage, I'm gonna hold you to that bet that you made, and
Yes.
don't put any other context, just because everybody else will be looking and going, why are you tweeting at
I'm
these
not
two
even gonna
weirdos?
tell the Aussie girls or post it in the Discord. I
No,
want to
no,
see if
no.
they.
I'm
I
not
want to
saying
see if they
anything.
find it.
I'm
In
not
this
saying
episode.
anything. No,
Yep.
they'll have to look. I know at least one person. I know one person that will probably find it and say something.
Yeah.
And shout out to them. They know who they are.
But Parks, now that we've gone through that silliness, what are you watching right
Well, obviously, I'm going to be casting the NA side of qualifier number 2 because we got to figure out who the final two teams, who 7 and 8 are in our thing. And then, of course, we're going to have to do a little bit of extra work around that. Notable interview coming up next week.
Yes.
And then, of course, we're going to be going in towards season number 4. We're going to have those community casting nights. I believe I've made the decision that if I'm doing production, it'll be on my channel, which is nice. We'll get that all finished up, and then maybe next season around we'll do it on Snicky's, and we'll just kind of rotate around. We'll probably have more guests, and we'll have more guests, of course, coming through. Hopefully as well, maybe to cast with us, depending on how the timing and everything works. But I mean, that's everything for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Appreciate. We are coming up. What episode number are we on?
This is 24.
24.
So our next episode is our silver episode. Okay, and the one after that is the end of season 1 of BFI.
Oh
so
my God.
yeah, it's.
I remember. Hold on, before we leave, I'm just gonna say this. I remember talking to Benny, and I said, "Hey, when are we considering it an end of a season?" And he went, "No." He just said,
Well, look, I'll put it this way. I want to call the episode, not next episode, not the episode after that, but the one after that,
season
episode
2.
27. I don't want to say season 2, episode 1. None of that crap.
Oh, it'll still be episode 20. It'll still be episode 27.
But I think a full calendar year, I think is good.
What?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about in that episode for sure. I mean, just aside from the results as well, like just our own little stuff. I think we'll make that episode hopefully a little bit more special than it deserves to be.
Yeah, we'll cook.
We'll cook. We
We'll
always
cook.
do. We always do. All right. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great night, great day wherever you are. We will be back in 2 weeks' time. But for now, goodbye.